Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective Podcast. Chairman.
Welcome back to the Chairman's Perspective, where we keep you informed on everything Shelby County. I am your host, Van Turner Jr., along with my co-host, DC.
Sitting right here, Mr. Chairman.
And on today's show, we have a very, very, very special guest in the studio with us, Chairman Conrad, Chairman of the Memphis City Council. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right here on the Chairman's Perspective, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
KUDZUKIAN! R&R on Sports is proud to be on Sirius XM.
So what's R&R stand for?
Real talk and relevant sports issues.
It's racial and relative. We're brothers from the South. We can relate.
R&R on Sports on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
DC, we have a great one today.
We surely do, sir.
So let's jump right in. We're here with Chairman Kemp Conrad of the Memphis City Council. And what you may or may not know is that the County Commission and the City Council had two joint meetings. It was historic. I appreciate Chairman Conrad for working with the County Commission. And I think we had a lot of good initiatives which came out of those two meetings. So, Chairman Conrad, what was the inspiration you believe that was behind the joint meeting?
Well, first of all, I want to say, Chairman Turner, I really appreciate you having me on the show today, and I look forward to the time. And Darrell, always great to see you.
Yes,
so really looking forward to it. So thank you very much. I think people in Memphis and Shelby County want to get things done. They want better jobs. They want to be safe. They want their children to get educated and just to have a good life. And one of the things that helps make that happen is government working. And I think at many levels of government right now, it's broken, certainly at the federal level. People, which you see on TV the most, it's just broken. It doesn't work, and people are frustrated with it. And one thing I love about local government and city government, and I'm sure Chairman Turner with county government, is you can really have a day-to-day impact, and really local government impacts people's lives more than any other form of government.
Yes, sir.
One thing, too, I think on the council and the commission, you've got folks that have known each other a long time. They're friends, have a lot of respect for each other, a lot of relationship capital, a lot of trust, and for the most part, the majority of the bodies that just want to get things done. And it's a lot more fun when you're working together to get things done and winning for your community and focusing in kind of the center where most people are, as opposed to, just arguing and fighting,
Sure.
over on the fringes. And so Chairman Turner and I had a lot of conversations about what are some things that we can get done with both bodies working together, and decided to have these two joint meetings, and we'll have hopefully a couple more this year. Mm-hmm. But two very exciting things came out of those that we had to collaborate on. One was pre-K, and we can talk more about that, and the city getting back into investing in education.
Yes,
and then
sir.
the second was coming together to fund what we believe will be a strategy to end street-level homelessness in 30 months through expansion of the hospitality hub. And so those were two things that came out of our first two meetings. Really, I think unprecedented cooperation and execution, and that's what we want to be known for in the city of Memphis. And I think Chairman Turner on the county side. So I appreciate him, and it's just a great partnership.
Well, let me throw something else in there for both of you all. The leadership that you're showing on this thing is phenomenal, because, of course, Chairman Turner and Conrad, here in Memphis, it's always been, hey, they're across the street, across Civic Center Plaza, right? You guys even brought in the school board, though. Now, that to me is saying a whole lot. When you've got all of these elected officials, and it's always been really, really contentious in years past, right? When you got, the schools say, we want this, and that's it. There's no talking. You guys are talking for a change. The citizens, I think, owe you a debt of gratitude for that, because I don't think we've seen that level of discourse at this point. I just don't think we've seen it.
Yeah. And I think that's, as Chairman Conrad stated, what the community is craving. They want our governments to talk with one another and not to fuss with one another.
Yeah.
Because that's how we get things done. I mean, there are a couple of things that are just germane and are so important to a community thriving. And number one, I think, is educating the youth. because one day Chairman Conrad and I won't be around.
Yeah, right.
So it's going to be the young people, the young adults, those who are coming through the system now, who are going to have to lead this community on the commission and the council. So we have to make sure that they're educated, and we have to emphasize education. So it was important to have the joint meeting with the school board as well as with the city council.
Sure.
And Chairman Conrad, we hit on transportation because that's so important. We want to bring in jobs and have a strong workforce, but once we bring the jobs in, our citizens have to get to and from work. And so I know that the city is very interested in doing more with public transit. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. There are a lot of gaps in Memphis we need to fill, and one is the transportation gap, or having transportation equity. And there are a lot of jobs in the community that are available, but one of the challenges in filling them, one is just workforce development and keeping training up folks. But one of them is it's hard right now to connect enough people with the jobs because of our transit system. We do need to fund it more. In the city of Memphis, we've fully funded our pension program this year.
Wow.
It's about
kudos.
$200 million more we put in over 5 years. It's about a $45 million per year investment to fully fund our pension plan. We've done all this. We've lost the Hall state income tax, which is about $15 million a year, and so on and so forth. We haven't raised taxes. So we've had to do more with less and continue to invest in public safety. And crime is down. We've doubled our youth programming, et cetera. But you can't do everything you want to do and invest in everything. And one of those is MATA. So we've done our best to keep it going and the status quo, but to really have it so it can really efficiently get more folks to the jobs in a faster manner, we need more investment, about $30 million more dollars. Yes. And so that's definitely something that we need to do. One of the things I'm excited about, though, too, is Memphis and Shelby County. We're an innovative, entrepreneurial community. Obviously, the home of FedEx and Holiday Inns, and Piggly Wiggly was the first shopping center. And look at what's going on now with an ag tech and all these different things. And so, one thing that's really neat that's going on right now is public transportation is part of the kind of constellation, if you will, of transportation options. We have now what's called My City Rides.
Right. Here, I saw that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where, the mopeds, where for I think it's $90 a month, basically, you get it's basically a scooter like a moped. They get you your license. You own it after 3 years. That's your insurance. They get 90 miles a gallon. That is a great way to get around. A lot of people don't need a car. Right. I mean, if you look at what it costs for insurance and gas and all that, and then you've got scooters. The Bird, Lime.
I think there's something else coming online here pretty soon too in Memphis.
That's right. We just did an RFP, and now there'll be 4 or 5 providers, and we're going to be doubling the capacity because there's a lot of need for that, and that's a very efficient way to do kind of last mile transportation. Lyft and Uber, that allows for really efficient carpooling. And so I think it's all these things working together. The fact that we've invested so heavily in bike lanes, we're one of only 2 cities that's going to be testing the new FedEx delivery bot.
Ooh, that's right.
And the reality is, in 10 years, people aren't going to have cars. We have autonomous cars now. Yeah. The average car sits 97% of the time. There's now apps where you can rent your car like you do Airbnb or things like this. So the point is the transportation model is changing drastically in terms of cars, and public transportation is a part of that. But there are also all these other areas as well, and that Memphis and Shelby County are looking at to make sure that we're kind of innovating in that way, because people really need a lot of different choices in terms of how they get to and from work and things like that.
Let's take a quick break right here on Chairman's Perspective. We'll be right back. Let's get into this homeless piece, because I think people need to know that we're actually very serious about trying to eradicate homelessness in our community.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Hey, I'm Williams Brack, co-host of Grind Set. The insight you gain from us and our guests will motivate you to take the leap into entrepreneurship. Make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast provider.
Grind Set on the KUDZUKIAN Network. KUDZUKIAN!
Hi, this is Memphis City Council Chairman Kemp Conrad, and we are doing The Right Thing on Chairman's Perspective, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Welcome back to the Chairman's Perspective, and we're having a great show, we have none other than Kemp Conrad. He is the chairman of the Memphis City Council here with us. We have my co-host, DC.
I'm right here in the chair, sir.
And I think Chairman Conrad wanted to hit on one other thing as it relates to transportation. It dealt with bike share, right?
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe I left off something the cities work really hard on, which is our Explore Bike Share program. Yeah. And that was another great way to get around town is, we keep investing in that and adding to that fleet, but another very healthy option as well. From a bike share standpoint, it's good for Memphians and also for tourists. And soon we're going to be actually adding a seated electric scooter option to the bike share fleet as well. So sometimes, it's a great day. Right now it's late July and the weather's beautiful. Sometimes it's a little bit warmer and you might get a bit sweaty riding your bike. Yeah. So you may not want to do that, but you may want to sit down and not stand up. And so we're going to be adding a kind of a sit-down electric scooter to our bike share fleet as well through Explore Bike Share. So once again, we continue to add and innovate and provide more and more transportation options for Memphians and Shelby County.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, the Explore Bike Share was probably, Mr. Chairman, times two here. I think the Explore Bike Share program was probably the one that kind of jumped everything else off, wasn't it? Because I think not long after that, then you got, the birds, and then you got and so that was just Well,
I think that what that shows is how Memphis and Shelby County are innovative and ahead of the curve. We were the 15th city about this time last year to get bird scooters. And if you read the headlines, most cities have still not figured this out. The Nashville mayor about 2 weeks ago was once again trying to eliminate all scooters from Nashville. And a year ago, that's what happened. They'd actually kicked him out of Nashville, and we called our government relations team because they were actually doing the government relations from Bird. And we said, hey, let's bring them to Memphis because we've already figured it out. We had bike share. We've already invested in our bike lane infrastructure. Yeah. And so in a matter of a week, we went from the concept to launching our scooter program. Mm-hmm. And so in most cities are still trying to figure it out. We figured it out in a week, and now we're growing it thoughtfully. But again, we'd already done our bike share program, which is a docked program, right? You get a bike, you put it back there. Scooters are dockless. You can leave them anywhere. People should be responsible about where they leave them, not block the right of way and things like this. But again, just another example of where I think Memphis and Shelby County are very forward thinking and being proactive, not reactive.
Here you go. Mm-hmm. Mr. Chair?
So dealing with that same, I think, creativity and being proactive, Chairman, we are also addressing homelessness, street-level homelessness in our community. It is such an important issue, and it really breaks my heart when I see the young people, the kids who are homeless and out on the street with the parents. And, I just it just done something to me. So I'm glad that the city and the county are now working together to address homelessness in the community. And could you talk a little bit about what we're doing? Sure.
And again, this wouldn't have been possible without the leadership of Chairman Turner and Mayor Harris too, who really got involved. And I've got to we're going to recognize all the folks at the Kelsey at the Hospitality Hub, Jared Bingham with Dragonfly, who really kind of came up with the concept of this plan, and Mayor Strickland and Chief McGowan, the administration. All this stuff takes teamwork, and there's that old saying: if you don't care about who gets the credit, you can accomplish anything, and that's really one of my mottos is just let's just get stuff done. And so it really we were talking about one of our joint meetings. It was something that we could do together, and street level homelessness is it's a challenge. We also, as a part of this too, as a part of the goal to eliminate street level homelessness in 30 months, we also needed an all women shelter. We did not have an all women shelter. And so that was a part of this as well. And so what we're doing is, sometimes I forget about all the kind of the things that we've been able to accomplish over the years. But one of them, does anybody miss getting their cars inspected? Right? Right? Remember, you sit in the line. You'd sit in line. You have to get there like first thing, or you had 3 lines and you were there forever. And it was
you got like $2 worth of gas in your car.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're sitting there, and it takes you $2 worth of gas to get out. Once you're inspected, then your car runs out of gas. I mean, this thing was crazy.
It was crazy, and so people don't. I kind of forgot that I had to do that. Well, one of those was the old inspection station on Washington.
That's right.
And it's a perfect location where it is, downtown and
accessible.
And so the city is contributing that. It's about 2.43 acres. It's about 40,000 feet, if I remember correctly. And part of that is going to be a women's shelter, a very nice shelter.
Yeah.
And where women will have their own rooms. Now, if we need to ramp it up, we can get 4 women into each room, but it'll
some kind of dormitory style.
Yes, but it's very that's right. But it's very nice. I mean, it's very, very nice.
And you're hearing that first right here on Chairman's Perspective, by the way, too. You're hearing that right here because I tell you what, there's been a little bit of contention out there. You've read the stories. Oh, it's not enough, but we don't have anything right now, right?
Well,
we have very little service connection for women and children.
Yeah, not a women's shelter. And then the other piece of this is really having a place where we can reach a lot of the homeless population, because the goal is to get folks back onto their feet and back into the society and into community. And that's what's really neat and the Hospitality Hub has been very successful in this with a partnership. I want to mention the DMC as well.
Oh, yeah.
But the way it starts is there might be someone sleeping on a park bench, and through the DMC, it's called the golf cart program. They might go to that person and just talk to them for a little bit, and it's about building relationships. And they might, how are you doing? Hey, the next day it's, well, hey, what kind of candy do you like? Skittles. Okay. Next day, hey, here's the Skittles.
Yeah.
Come back the next day. Hey, you know what? I've got a whole thing of Skittles back at the hub. Why don't you come with me? Okay.
Building trust, right?
It's relationships. Wow. They're building. There's that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And this is why they've been so successful. A lot of folks, they just need help getting their, getting their veterans benefits or something. And so it's helping them do that, then getting them plugged into the various services that are out there. So this is something where we're contributing at basically $1 a year lease the facility. And then we're both ramping up to about $1.2 million total annually for the operating costs. And it's roughly a shared 50-50, and it ramps up. We're going to have that thing and then there's the outdoor part of this. We're going to have it operational this year. We just voted on this. They just finalized it in their budget a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Right.
The day plaza, as we call it, where folks can come out there during the day. It's going to be done this year, this summer. That's how fast we're moving. We don't mess around. We do government at the speed of business. And so it also has a place where, you can bring in food trucks, where churches and nonprofits can come volunteer. One of the things that we're doing through our public works program is, we're actually, we're putting folks to work. So there's wash bays here. And so, people can get their car washed and start to pay folks to wash cars. The city fleet, police cars, things like that. Shelby County.
Perfect.
So it's going to be a place where it'll be very inviting, where people can come volunteer, and also there's going to be opportunities to earn for people for these folks to earn money, and again to get them out and back into society. The coolest thing is, again, everything we do, it's about partnership. We've already got commitments for over $5 million from foundations who are going to be investing in the build out. We think we're going to probably get to $8 million. We're currently meeting with other foundations right now. But again, it's a great model. County, city, nonprofit, community, foundations working together to solve a challenge. That's one thing I like about Memphis and Shelby County is we have challenges, but they're not so big and so huge that they can't be solved. And so this is an area where I think we're going to make a really, really big difference over the next 30 months. And I, again, appreciate Chairman Turner's leadership. I know the county especially had a really tight budget this year. Mm-hmm. Part of this was taking money out of this year's budget that ended June 30th too, to kind of make this happen. The foundations that are investing wanted the government to own the operating cost, as we should.
Sure.
And so we had to give them that commitment. And but again, happened very, very fast. Came out of one of our meetings about how we could do it together. And it's going to be up and operational this year. And I think that's what folks expect out of their local government.
Again, relationships, Chairman Turner, Chairman Conrad, relationships matter, right?
Absolutely.
They do matter. But I like what you said. Government at the speed of business.
Yeah, I caught that too.
I like that. That's a key element right there to all of this, right? I'll tell you what, let's do this, and we're going to get back into government at the speed of business when we talk about this pre-K piece. I know that's something that chair and chair you all have been working on continuously. And we've got some movement this year for a change, all right? So we'll be right back right here on the Chairman's Perspective.
Chairman. The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Inside 901.
Inside 901. I am your host, Lieutenant Anthony Buckner. Here on Inside 901, we will unpack the vision of Shelby County Sheriff Floyd Bonner and the various divisions of the Shelby County Sheriff's Office.
We have a racial profiling policy at the Sheriff's Office. We adhere to it. We expect our officers to adhere to it.
Uniform patrols that provide police services to unincorporated Shelby County.
Inside 901.
KUDZUKIAN.
We're back with the Chairman's Perspective, and today we're getting some great insight and information on what's going on with the city of Memphis. We're here with the chairman of Memphis City Council, Kemp Conrad, and I have my co-host on my side, DC.
I'm always here, sir. Right here.
And now we want to get into education, pre-K. We all know that it may not be the total answer, but it is a large part of the answer as it relates to everything. When you talk about crime, you talk about poverty, you talk about a workforce, you got to start with education. And what we're saying is starting in kindergarten is too late. We want to catch these young people pre-K so that when they get into formal education, they're recognizing their numbers, they're recognizing letters, and we want to make sure that by third and fourth grade, they're still on grade level with their reading. And so we think pre-K is important. We thought it was so important that we partnered with City Council. Essentially, we've come up with a joint ordinance to support pre-K. And I'll let you kick that off, Chairman Conrad, because I know this was near and dear to your heart on the city side.
Well, thanks, Chairman. A little bit of context here. You know, several years, one of the first things the city council did, I came on board a little bit later, I guess it was 2008, where the city council eliminated funding to the schools. And that was about $70 million a year. So in 2007, we had to make a strategic decision. I was proud to sponsor the resolution, but it was, do we want to make the strategic decision to get back into the education business, investing in children in some way? And I felt passionately that we did, but we wanted to do it in a way that didn't go back to the maintenance of effort, number one, but number two, that where we could really target it where it was most important, and number three, where we could make sure that we had metrics and results tied to our investment. And agree very much with Chairman Turner that one of the most important investments we can make is in children, and doing that as early as possible. It's the best anti-crime, economic development, workforce investment that we could make. And the reason is 80% of brain development occurs before the age of 5. But we spend about 80% of public education dollars in this country from age 5 and after. And so that doesn't make much sense. So it shows if the brain is developing that quickly between 0 or really even before children are born, when they're still in the womb, and so this starts really, really early, we should be investing more there. I mean, no one disagrees, going back to the founding of the country, that public education is something that government does, that's right. Been a cornerstone of America. And so if we know now through research that so much brain development occurs earlier, it just makes sense that we should invest there. Third grade is so important because up until third grade, you learn to read. But once you really hit third grade, you read to learn. And so if by third grade, that third grade reading level is so important, because if our children at third grade really don't read, then they're just going to keep falling behind, because then they can't learn.
Right.
And we know that those early investments in pre-K really, really makes a huge difference. And so I was driving in this morning and saw a billboard for Shelby County Schools pre-K. Children that go to pre-K are 3 times more likely to go to college. We know that the investment on every dollar put into pre-K saves $5 to $7 in future costs related to crime or things like this. And so it was something that we really wanted to do. Again, we wanted to do it together. And another great example of Shelby County putting in money, the city of Memphis getting back into the business of targeted investment in education, and the school board investing more money as well. And once again, it's about $18 to $20 million a year. And then we're working with the private sector, Seeding for Success,
right,
and philanthropy to basically double that number for other wraparound services that are so important, especially in some of the more impoverished areas.
I don't want to stop you right there, Mr. Chairman. And you're listening to the chairman's perspective, but both of y'all, that's what I think the citizens want to hear, that wraparound service piece, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, great, we can get this 3-year-old into a pre-K, but then the 3-year-old comes from a broken home or something that's going on, but those wraparound services. So what went into y'all's head when you thought about, well, dollars for pre-K is great, but what about a social worker or maybe a nurse at these in some of these schools?
When you educate children for most of the year, but they have the 3 months off during the summer, a lot of what happens is unraveled if they go into bad homes. And what creates a bad home? The parents are not working. They're not receiving a living wage. There are, mental health issues going on at the home, and a number of other issues which have to be addressed. So it's not enough just to address the needs of the young people. We have to make sure that when they go home, they're going home into healthy environments, because no matter how hard we work in pre-K or K through 12, it can all be undone with the snap of a finger when they go home or when they're off for the summer or fall or spring break or winter break. And so we have to have healthy and productive homes, and I think that's why the wraparound services piece is so important. What do you think, Chairman?
I couldn't agree more. That's exactly right. And folks going in, nurses, social work, teaching folks what smoking does, secondhand smoke to children, how important nutrition is, how important, some things, we may know and take for granted, but a lot of folks don't. And so simple education from that standpoint helps a lot. And so again, it's just not the pre-K in a vacuum. The pre-K is important, but it's that the home visitation piece, the wraparound piece as well.
Touching that whole family pretty much.
That's right. And you might, it's really a 2-generation approach to poverty reduction or more prosperity creation, because we're investing more in those children now, but we're also working with their parents to educate them. To educate them as well. So it's a 2-generation approach. You might remember 15, 20 years ago, we had one of the highest infant mortality rates in the country. It rivaled some third world countries. Yeah. And once again, it was an example where the community got together. This is when Governor Bredesen was in office and working with a lot of local stakeholders and really drove down that infant mortality rate. But a lot of that has helped too, because again, your body, your brain is still forming while it's in the womb. So the healthier babies can be when they're born, and then we can start making sure that as they enter pre-K, that they're getting as much attention and nutrition, how important reading is, books from birth. It's all these things together that kind of add up to creating a more healthy, equitable society in city and county.
Mr. Chairman, any parting thoughts? Right, we got to get out of here because we got again more show than we got time.
Yes, sir.
I know you guys got some stuff you got to do today, but I want to make sure that if there's something you want to leave with the citizens. I mean, I know you're hosting this show. What do you want to leave?
No, I think that this is wonderful that the city and the county are working together. City council, county commission are working together. I'm so appreciative of the leadership of Chairman Conrad.
Yeah,
we could not have pulled this off without his leadership, and so. Just very grateful for you, sir. Thankful for your leadership. You are a gentleman, a scholar, and a true public servant. And we thank you for being on the Chairman's Perspective. And you're welcome back anytime, sir.
I appreciate y'all having me. It's been great. Appreciate KUDZUKIAN for getting the word out about what's going on. And right back at you, Chairman Turner. I appreciate it. I think all the things about you. Most importantly, I'm honored to call you a friend.
Well, we've had a great show. We've had Chairman Conrad here to talk about the Memphis City Council and how the County Commission and City Council address 3 important issues in the community: pre-K, homelessness, and transit.
That's right.
So I think this was just impactful, innovative, and it's only just began. What do you think, DC?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think when you have guests to come on, they really want to talk to you, and they want to talk to the listeners about what's really happening in our community, right? And when you got the chairman of the council here and the chairman of the commission sitting there, if you can't get it from those 2 legislative bodies and those 2 heads, I don't think it's out there to be gotten, right?
That's right.
I think it was a great show today. Great show. Great show. You've done a fantastic job.
Well, I appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you, DC.
Well, I don't know about that, but we're okay. We're okay.
Well, hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Hopefully you won't go anywhere, and hopefully you'll be back the next time to listen to the Chairman's Perspective, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
The Chairman's Perspective Podcast. Executive producer, Shelby County Commission's Van Turner. Hosted by Chairman Van Turner Jr. and Darrell DC Catron. Recorded at KUDZUKIAN Studios. Directed, produced, and distributed by KUDZUKIAN.